Bismillah Rahim Kuala Uhad Samar Walem Yulib Walem Yulad Walem Yakuluhu Kufu Wanahad. Say he is God, the only one. He begat of not, nor is he begat, and there is none unto like him. Now, I want to talk about sending your children off to be dumbed down by the government. Now, when you go to school, it's two things that a person who has melanin in his skin can learn from these Celtics, these Europeans that doesn't change, and that's science and math. Because science and math is common sense. Now, anything that deals with geographical locations, anything that deals with language is a falsehood. Because if you go back to the time of the conquest of the American military, when they invaded or the Europeans invaded the country, they changed the names of the country and gave it its own name. Just like in Egypt, when Alexander the Great came, he called the part of Egypt Alexandria, Egypt. Now, that wasn't the real name of the geographical location in Egypt, but as they conquered, they changed the names of things. Just like, you know what I'm saying, in your neighborhoods, Davis Street, Duncan Street. When you look at those names, them are names of the colonizers who have come into your neighborhoods and colonized the names of the area or the geographical locations. Now you sending your children to school with the mindset that they are learning, but what you must understand is they are learning, but they are learning how to. They are learning how to suppress that which is in themselves, which is the pride of being melanin children or being melanin recessive, which is identify themselves with their culture. So once you remove the culture out of the mental state of the mind and you make them feel inferior towards their color as a person, what happens then is that they become copycats of others and try to mimic the others' way of life and culture, from the dressing, from the talking, from the moving out of the so-called ghetto into the location where the property value is up. But you have to understand that if you send your kids to school and they understand science and math, math is dealing with how they collectively um, rate a neighborhood based off of the monetary value and who will live in that area. So what they do is they ostracize people and put them into boxes, and they only give them enough resources to where you will only want to stay there for such a time till you move on to leave that place, instead of knowing that this same place that you're going in and buying this $500,000 house was a ghetto, but they did ethnic cleansing and removed all the African Americans because they said that these people are not clean mentally, physically, or spiritually, and that the property value is going to keep going down because these people don't understand revenue. These people don't understand how to keep their properties up in the community and how to establish a community. Now, look in your community today. There is no unity in your community amongst the African Americans. And you say, why do we not have any unity? The reason why we don't have any unity because we are people that backbiters. We always talking about each other behind each other's back. Oh girl, look at her. She thinks she the stuff because she got a new car. Well, guess what? She got a new car because she got a good credit score. You could have a good car too if you had a good credit score and you had stability, which is called a job to where you could pay your monthly payments of your car. See, there's nothing that's done under the sun that won't be done again. You have the power to change your own conditions, but you must understand how to play Monopoly. When you don't understand how to play Monopoly, you just roll the dice. And what happens is you end on skid row every time, which is called poverty. Or you end up in jail. And in this game, there's no get out of jail free card. Now, you sending your kids to school to learn. But then when they come home, you don't teach them anything. Why is it that you allow your kids to sit in front of the TV and you cook them a meal, you know what I'm saying, and you let them watch TV? You know, in the African American community or in our community, we call that parenting. Parenting is not sitting down, cooking a meal and allowing them to watch TV and go to sleep and get up in the morning and be re-educated, you know what I'm saying, by a system that never cared about them. Parenting is when you sit down and you teach them some things so that they could be fully equipped when they go to school and understand the principles of what's going on. So you don't sit down and teach your children about geography. You don't sit down and teach your children about the mathematical equations and how to solve the problems. You don't sit down and teach your children science. You don't sit down and teach your children language. And a lot of times you don't do this because there is a systematic slavery that has been endowed into your mental stability where there's a block. And that's because you have went through the same cycle that your children have went through. And you think living is just going to get a job and paying your bills. Well, that ain't living. That's just existing. Living is when you have your own business and you're able to go to others who have their own business with like minds and y'all build something that is great. This is nothing more than what the Europeans are doing. We in a sad state right now. Because if you look in your biblical scriptures, look in your Quran, look in all the religious books, the one thing that these people had in common was structure. The one thing that these people had in common was unity. But yet, you know what I'm saying, when the Europeans come, what they do is they disqualify you because they put in you a fear of your own people that they will do you harm. If we get away from that tele-lie vision, that dummy box, and start unifying, we'll see ourselves in a better predicament and conditions. But when you continue to watch that TV, they continue, you know what I'm saying, to put you in a rapture to where you are so caught up in your emotions that you can't free yourself by using your common sense. But yet, you know what I'm saying, we'll say that we are Christians, we are Muslims, we love God. Well, I believe if there was a TV on the face of the earth at the time, Jesus wouldn't even watched it because he wouldn't have no time. Because the Bible say, fox have holes and birds have nests, but the Son of Man has no place to lay his head. So if you want to do the will of your Creator, then go and start educating the people on truth. And that truth could just be you a good mathematical teacher, teach them math. If you know science, teach them science. If you know the real names of these places and you know geography, teach them geography. If you know about oceanography, teach them oceanography. If you know about psychology, teach them psychology. If you know about theology, teach them theology. But there must be quickening of the mind in the household to free the child from the mental slavery that he receives in school, because your school systems ain't doing nothing but indoctrinating your kids with an inferiority complex, because nothing in the curriculum is talking about them. It's talking about the white man. It's talking about how the United States was established, and in the Civil War they don't talk about that there was Nubians that helped them fight. They don't say